Here is a video of the 1977 Tomy big loader construction set in action. Watching the motorized chassis go through the transfer ramp, hopper, delivery chute, and loading dock stations is mesmerizing. In 1977, Tomy released the big loader construction set. Advertised as a construction set that does it all, a kid ages 5 to 11 can watch all the action. Loads, fills, scoops, switches, hauls, dumps, and reverses. Although the big loader construction set comes in a small box, once set up, it has a layout size of 22¼ by 22 inches with 8 feet of track. Action can be reversed by pressing and holding down any of the 4 white buttons as the motorized chassis passes. If you already own a big loader construction set, you could order replacement rocks from Amazon. There will be an Amazon link for replacement rocks in the description of this video. The big loader construction set was the invention of inventor Makoto Sato. Big was added to the name as a tribute to the Great American Expanse. The genius of this playset is how a single moving motorized chassis is transformed into a scoop lifter, dump truck, and skip loader using interchangeable bodies. The big loader construction set was distributed by Parker Brothers and sold out quickly when it hit the United States market. The original run of this toy was from 1977 to 1982, then being offered again from 1989 to 1993. In 1994, the original big loader construction set was replaced by the big loader. In recent years, the big loader construction set could be purchased new in John Deere Johnny Tractor motif and Thomas the Tank Engine themed sets. Good things come in small packages indeed, as the dimensions of the Tomy big loader construction set box is 14¾ inches long in length by 12¾ inches in height and 2¾ inches in width. The box housing all the pieces weighs a mere 2 pounds and 5.9 ounces. Setup is a snap using the provided instructions that show steps in both text and graphical format. Steps 1 through 3 are on the front, with the remaining steps 4 through 11 on the back. Here is the picture of the layout once completed. You must remove the motorized chassis battery cover in order to install the batteries. 2 AA batteries are required to power the motorized chassis. Time to replace the battery cover. The motorized chassis is powered on by sliding the switch to the on position. Uninterrupted, it takes about 45 seconds to move through all the stations. A common problem with the big loader construction set is that the motorized chassis fails to power on, even with fresh batteries installed. This is typically caused by a previous owner leaving batteries in the motorized chassis during long-term storage. The batteries then leak, corroding the battery contacts, causing a poor electrical connection. The battery contacts must be cleaned to restore electrical connectivity. First, I mask off the area using masking tape and paper to prevent damage to any plastic. I then use my Dremel with a small sanding cylinder, and then a wire brush attachment to clean up the battery contacts. At this point, the battery contacts look nice and shiny with little trace of corrosion. There is still an issue even after battery contact cleaning. The motorized chassis still failed to power on. My multimeter revealed that the batteries had a good connection to both sets of battery contacts, each registering around 1.4 volts. Time to investigate further. The bottom of the motorized chassis has 2 posts. When flipped down, they fit into the center slot of this set's track. When flipped, the small white lever reverses the motorized chassis direction. 2 screws must be removed to reveal the electromechanical contents. There is no activity even when power was applied directly to the motor solder lugs. Time to remove the motor for servicing. 2 wires must be desoldered from the motor solder lugs in order to remove it. It is important to remember which colored wires go on each solder lug, otherwise forward and reverse directions will be swapped. I also discovered through a continuity test that the switch was not making electrical contact in the on position. Once the gearing was removed, it was revealed that the switch's pivot point was completely corroded. I cleaned the edge of the pivot, then placed a dab of solder next to it. Electrical continuity was now achieved with the switch in the on position. In order to service the motor, the pinion gear must be removed by sliding it off the shaft. The two metal tabs must be bent back to expose the motor's innards. Corrosion on the commutator prevented good electrical contact, which is why the motor did not turn. I cleaned up the commutator with 800 grit sandpaper. The motor's brushes were cleaned up using denatured alcohol on a Q-tip. Time for reassembly. The stator must be attached to the back of the motor, taking care to make sure the brush is properly engaged with the commutator. The motor's metal case then slides into place. Finally, the two metal tabs must be bent back into position to hold the motor together. A drop of Labelle 108 oil, intended for model railroads, is applied to the back motor bearing, and the front bearing as well. The motor is then tested using two AA batteries in series for power. The motor should spin up without encouragement. The pinion gear is now reinstalled on the motor's shaft. Time to reinstall the gearing. The idler shaft must be installed first, then the drive shaft assembly. The planetary gear, used as a reversing mechanism, is then installed, and then the motor. The two wires must be soldered to the motor's lugs. It is important to remember which colored wire goes to each solder lug, otherwise forward and reverse directions will be swapped. The reverse lever is then installed. Then the motor chassis bottom is installed with two screws. Turning over the motorized chassis reveals the battery compartment. Once the two AA batteries are installed, and the battery compartment cover is put in place, the motorized chassis is ready to go. During operation, I discovered that the hopper was not dispensing rocks. A post had broken off that was part of the mechanism. I used an electronic header pin to replace the original post. I drilled a small hole into the hopper mechanism, then stuck the header pin into the hole, securing it with superglue. Now the hopper mechanism works perfectly. Thank you for watching this how-to repair video on repairing the 1977 Tomy big loader construction set. Please like this post and subscribe to Rust Belt Vintage Toy Repair so that you're alerted to my future posts.